In order to amplify the conflict of your story, you may be considering adding a battle or a war arc. A war arc in a story is when two factions are at conflict with each other, and a battle arc in a story is a smaller scale version of this where it may be between two or more characters. Adding a battle or war arc to your story can help your readers feel more invested in your story, and it can also add more interest in important plot points. So how do you create a good battle, war, or tournament arc? That is what I will be talking about in today's video. Hi everyone, if you don't already know me, my name is Minette Cross and on this channel, I dedicate all my videos to helping you turn your manga into a masterpiece. I'm currently working on my own manga titled Having Faith, which you might hear me talk about in today's video, but also in other videos on my channel. Now, if you're new to my channel and you'd love to see more videos just like this one today, please consider subscribing and hitting that little bell icon to get notified every time I upload something new. I upload a new video every Sunday or Thursday all about manga creating, and I would love to have you join me on the channel. First of all, I should mention that in order to have a good battle arc, your characters need to have good powers and a good power system first of all. If you want help creating your own power system for your own story, I have this video right here that can help with that process. If you want to know more about writing and drawing actual fighting scenes, I also have this video which can help with that process. So first of all, before we specifically talk about what needs to go into a battle, war, or tournament arc, let's first talk about how you can actually create an arc in general. In a manga series, in order to keep things interesting, parts of the story are usually divided into story arcs, and even though these are story arcs, they still follow the same story structure of a beginning, middle, and end. It's just to help divide the plot into more easily digestible parts. So in the case of a battle arc, it's an arc in the story where it is more focused on a battle or conflict. In a tournament arc, it's a part of the story that is focused on a tournament. In a war arc, it's a part of the story that is focused on a bigger war. So first of all, let's talk about how to write a regular battle arc. A battle arc is like a war arc but to a much smaller extent and usually focuses on fights or conflicts between two or more characters. Battle arcs can be longer events or smaller battle scenes throughout the series. Here is how you can specifically create a battle arc in your own manga, comic, or light novel. My first tip for creating a battle arc is consider what planted the seed for this particular battle. Now that might be a little bit hard to explain, but I'm going to give you some examples. In a lot of battles, there is usually a main reason why that battle started. However, the seed of the battle is where the underlying reason of that battle started. Even though there might be something that sparks the battle, there is usually an underlying planted seed that slowly progressed and grew into this raging battle. On the surface, they might be fighting about a particular thing that has just happened. However, under the surface, there is this underlying tension that may have been brewing through all of the years until this point. Here are some examples of how a seed could be planted that could be the underlying reason and tension for a battle that could be happening more in the current circumstances of your story. My first example is that the battle might start because the other character keeps belittling them and telling them they're weak. However, the main reason this affected the main character and caused the fight was because when the main character was younger, people kept telling them that they were weak. These childhood moments planted the seed for this particular battle. My second example is that the battle might start because of a disagreement. However, these characters may have kept having smaller disagreements over the years, and that planted a seed of anger between them. My third example is that the battle might start because of a jealousy between the characters. However, what planted the seed for this battle may be the fact that they like the same person. So it doesn't have to be this way for all battles, but usually when it comes to bigger, more significant battles, there will usually be a stronger underlying reason as to why that battle is so important to these characters. Even though the battle may be happening because of a smaller incident on the surface, there is usually something that happened in the past that planted the seed for this battle. There is usually an underlying reason why this battle happened. I didn't actually think of this before, but while recording this, it reminded me of my favorite anime, Inuyasha, and if you've seen that before, you'll notice early on in the series, Inuyasha and Sesshomaru fight a lot, and usually the underlying reason of that is because of Inuyasha's own hurt feelings of the fact that Sesshomaru is a full demon, while Inuyasha is only a half demon. And so that is usually the underlying reason behind the battles, even though on the surface the battle could be looked like it was caused by something else. So even though something on the surface may seem like the truth during a battle, always consider what the underlying reason for this battle may be. My second tip to creating a battle arc is consider what sparked the battle. So we just talked about the underlying reasons to a battle, however on the surface there will usually be a main reason how that battle started in the first place. It could just be a simple reason, like maybe they were having an argument and things just got out of hand, or maybe there was some jealousy or something like that. So it can just be a simple reason, but you need to think of a reason that the battle began in the first place. What sparked this battle? How did things get out of hand and turn into this more major battle arc? My third tip is consider what do your characters want? Everyone wants something, and in these battles, if you add a want in these characters and make these characters want something, it'll help make the battle mean something more, and it will help give it more value not only to the characters, but also to your readers as well. So you need to consider what do your characters want from this, or what do they want in general. So maybe they are fighting because the other character wants the girl, and they're fighting over this one girl. Maybe they want to prove that they are strong and not weak, or maybe they simply just want to defeat the other person. So overall, you need to consider why this battle is so valuable to this person and then what they both want out of this battle. I got up for 5 seconds and then my cat just decided to sit on my cushion. So here she is, everyone. Oh, she's falling off the back. Ah! She doesn't like the fact that I'm recording and I'm ignoring her. She's quite attention seeking, but she doesn't like cuddles either. So you just kind of have to hold her and just scratch her ears like this. So if you hear random smashing noises, it's probably my cat destroying something outside. My fourth tip for creating a battle arc is to keep the stakes high. This is about amplifying their wants and making their wants and how to get what they want even more dire and important. They need to have a reason that they must win this battle. The stakes are their reason, and the higher stakes mean that there is a higher reason why your characters cannot fail. In more dire situations, maybe the person they are fighting has captured someone important to them, and in order to get them back, they must fight. On a smaller scale, the other person could have hurted them over the years, and the other person fights them because they want to prove that their words did not hurt them. So overall, you want to consider what the stakes of your story are and give your characters a really strong reason why they must accomplish their goals and why they must win this battle. My fifth tip is always focus on the short-term goal. Now obviously your characters would have bigger goals that they would accomplish over the longer term of the story. However, during a battle, if you want to keep things more fast-paced and avoid having things dragging, you want to give your characters short-term goals throughout the battle. So that would be like their short-term goal might be to grab the sword off the other character. Their short-term goal might be to trip the other character. Their short-term goal might be to hide and ambush the other character. So those are examples of short-term goals, and over the course of a battle scene or a battle arc, your character will usually have multiple short-term goals that they must accomplish one after another in order to make their battle a success. So as you're writing a battle arc, consider what your character's short-term goals may be and what the longer-term goals over the course of the battle may be as well. My sixth tip is consider how does this battle affect the story? Everything affects the story in some regard, and so having a battle scene like this would obviously also affect the story. This battle could cause rifts between characters who were previously friends. A battle could destroy certain things. A battle could mean even the death of a character. So a battle scene can affect multiple things in your story. So it's important that this battle does change something. And as a follow-up to this, tip number 7 is that the battle arc should affect the character development arc. They really go hand in hand with each other, and so what happens in a battle arc should actually help a lot with the character development. The character before the battle arc should be someone who was very different to who they are after the battle arc. And through having multiple battle arcs and battle scenes, your character should change every time and become a different character. Maybe after one battle, they now are stronger at fighting. Maybe after another battle, they now learn how to forgive others and be kinder to others. Maybe after another battle, they learn to trust themselves in their own abilities. So over the course of these battles, they need to slowly learn and develop. And after having so many different battle arcs and battle scenes, your character should be a very different character at the end of the story than they were at the very beginning of your story. A battle arc can change a character for better or for worse. Now, battle arcs can also sometimes refer to tournament arcs. A manga or anime tournament arc is an arc where the battle is shown in a more organized fashion. It's usually a part of the character's training, and after going through the tournament, they may be on a higher rank or level. The Chunin exams arc in Naruto is an example of a tournament arc, and also the Dark Tournament in Yu Yu Hakusho, and the Sports Festival arc in My Hero Academia. So here's how to more specifically write a tournament arc. So first of all, keep in mind the previous tips for writing a battle arc. Even if this is a tournament arc with multiple characters and multiple fights, you should also keep in mind that their battles should be individualized. Don't forget about the character and focus too much on the battles, because then the battles may slowly become tedious. Overall, you want the tournament arc to be very character driven and have it focus a lot on the rivals and the main characters as well. So that's why it's really important to keep in mind the tips from the battle arc as you focus on each individual battle during the tournament arc. A tournament arc needs to have a kind of structure, but that structure will really depend on the kind of story you're telling. So depending on the world of your story and what your character's abilities and the system is, then the tournament system would also be very different. Now, as well as this, your tournament arc needs to lead to some kind of reward at the end, which will motivate your characters to work towards hopefully winning this reward or prize. So here are some tips on how to create your own tournament arc in your own manga, comic, or light novel. My first tip is consider where is your tournament taking place. Now, as I mentioned before, this will highly depend on the world of your story, but it might take place in a kind of stadium or arena, or even just a large open field. It just needs to be a large enough space for people to possibly watch and people to participate in the fighting as well. You may also have a judging table where people may be judging the characters in the tournament. My second tip is consider how are the battles divided. Is it 1 versus 1? Are they group challenges? Are they 2 versus 1? It can be divided in multiple ways, but it's really important that you consider for the structure of your tournament how each system and each battle would work. Usually a tournament arc will focus on single elimination, so if your character loses one match, then they are out. However, you could also think about having group challenges in the tournament or situations where characters can get eliminated until it is 1 versus 1. So how you create the structure of your tournament is completely up to you, but keep in mind that it does need a structure. So it's also important to create a structure that allows your readers time to see each character and understand them. Whether they are main characters, rivals, or side characters, they are all important characters, and so this tournament arc allows your readers a chance to be able to see all of those characters, see how they fight, and also see how they interact with each other. My third tip for writing a tournament arc is consider how someone can get eliminated. You will need an elimination system in your tournament, otherwise it could just keep going on forever. For your character to win, do they just need to knock the other character over? Do they need to fully knock them out? Do they just need to tag them? Do they need to kill the other character? You may also want to add an out of bounds area or a time limit or an area that could be counted as disqualification, because that way it allows your battle to not stretch on forever. So if there's a time limit and the battle seems to be continuing on forever, that battle could be ended because of the end of the time limit. Or if your character might strike another character in a place that is a penalty area, then your character could get disqualified. So consider, as well as having ways of your character to win, also consider ways of having your character be eliminated as well. You want to remember that your character should not be too strong, and it also shouldn't be too easy to win the tournament as well. You need to make it a challenge, and once it's a challenge, it'll be more interesting for your readers to read as well. You could also add a point system where if your character gets too many penalties by tapping a character in the wrong way or going in the out of bounds area, through all of those penalty points, your character could get eliminated from the tournament. My fourth tip is consider the structure of the tournament. There will usually be matches broken up by characters. So will your character have a single match with 1 versus 1? Or will they have 3 matches with fighting different characters? Will there be group challenges? Will there be bigger battles? So you need to consider how this tournament is broken down and how many rounds and how many matches there would be in your tournament. My fifth tip is add a point system where your characters can gain points to win. Now this is optional as well, but adding a point system can help make it more realistic when your character wins. Since a tournament is usually a way of a character being able to level up in a certain ability, there will usually be judges and there will be usually ways of gaining points. How your character gains points may not only be from actually winning a battle, but it could also be from your character showing good skills in their area. It could be about them showing good strategy or other methods like that that may be unique to your own manga, comic, or light novel. So you need to consider how can your character gain points in order to actually be able to have the chance to win this tournament. My sixth tip for creating a tournament arc is consider what weapons your characters may be allowed to use or what clothing they may be allowed to wear. There may be a certain kind of weapon they may need to use in a tournament arc, and they may need to wear certain protective clothing or a kind of uniform if they are participating in the tournament. It's just something to keep in mind for the design of your manga. My seventh tip is consider how your character can win. So if your character wins the first battle, then they may be moved to the next battles. If they win the next battle, then they may be in the finals. If they defeat the final opponent, then they may win. Or your character may gain points over the course of various battles, and the person with the most points wins the whole tournament. So there are various possibilities as to how your character could win. So consider how your character could win and what would be a realistic but difficult way your character can accomplish that. My eighth tip is consider what is the prize. Usually this prize will be going up a rank, but you can choose any prize you want. However, it should be a prize that your character wants to win. If your character has no desire to win, then it may be hard for your readers to feel invested in the battle. It might just be your character going up a rank, but maybe by going up a rank they can finally feel like they can protect the ones they care about. Maybe the prize is money and they need the money to survive. Maybe the prize is the ability to use a certain weapon and they need that weapon to save someone. So overall, you want the prize to also tie into the character development and make that prize really mean something to your characters. My ninth tip for creating a tournament arc is consider what's holding your character back from winning. Your character should definitely not be overpowered, and as I mentioned earlier, I feel like it's better to focus more on the weaknesses of a character rather than their strengths, because having a character that is too strong and can just defeat everyone else in the entire tournament feels a little bit boring after a while. It might be cool at first, but after a while it would slowly get tedious. So instead you want to give your character a weakness, because the weaknesses of your character can make it more exciting when your character does win. So your character might be a really small character and they're paired up with this really strong giant of a character, and your readers might be wondering, oh my gosh, how are they going to beat this giant? But your smaller character might be really good at strategy, and that is how they succeed. Maybe your character is really good at using certain martial arts techniques and they use that to help them in a battle. Another weakness of a character in battle is that they might rush too fast into battle, and that makes them easily predictable. So you need to give your character a realistic weakness in their battle, a weakness that may make it harder for them to win, but that makes it all the more exciting when they do win through using their own methods to their advantage. My 10th tip is show their training prior to the tournament. Obviously, if they really wanted to win this tournament, they would train leading up to that tournament. They wouldn't just suddenly be really amazing at battle and then just go in and just wipe everyone out. That would just be really unrealistic. So to make it more realistic and to show your readers the realism of it, you want to be able to also show your character training prior to this tournament. And my 11th tip to writing a tournament arc is allow the tournament to build tension and conflict. You can do this especially through focusing more on the characters. Each character in this tournament should all want something. With everyone wanting something, that means it would eventually lead to conflict when there can only be one winner. So what you want to do is you want to make it clear to the readers what everyone wants and make your readers care about every one of these characters. Then as you build up the tournament, it can add conflict through the fact that characters would be losing the battles, and these characters really want to win, and your readers would probably want these characters to win as well. Maybe some characters may cheat to try and win. Maybe some characters may get into trouble with their families if they lose. Each character has their own story, even if they're not the main character, and this tournament should be important to each of them in their own ways. In order to build up that tension and conflict, you need to really show that importance and emphasize it through every fight they participate in. Now finally, let's talk about how to write a war arc. Now a war arc is a lot like a battle arc, but a war arc is on a much larger scale. It usually focuses on two or more factions having a conflict against each other and fighting against each other. And also the protagonist and the main characters are usually somehow involved with this conflict as well, or this conflict affects things in their own story. A war arc can affect a story on a much larger scale, and it can change events but also create major new events. The tips in this section are pretty similar to creating a battle arc, but I've modified them to focus more on how to create a war arc. Let's go into the tips on how you can do this. My first tip for creating a war arc in your manga, comic, or light novel is consider what planted the seed for this war. Where did this war start from in the first place? So even though something may have sparked the war, usually the origins of the war stem from something else. Maybe the two factions have been disagreeing for centuries, and this war was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe both factions have their own methods, and that caused conflict. So here are some examples of planted seeds that could start a war in your story. Remember, as I mentioned before, the planted seeds are the underlying cause of this war. So what may have sparked the war may be very different from what actually caused the underlying tension that started the war. So here are some examples. So first example is someone in the other faction could have stolen the other king's bride. This would cause a rift between the factions and likely result in a major conflict. One group may be favoring particular people over others, and this type of favoring could cause disagreements, leading to a bigger conflict. Another tip is that one group could have more power than the other and refuse to share that power. So the underlying tension for the war, or the seed for a war, has to be something that is more of a long-term effect. A full-blown war wouldn't just start from something simple. It would need to start from something that was in the works for many, many years. It might have started from a small disagreement, but over the years it could have grown into something much bigger. A war arc should not only focus on the current war, but also where the war originated from and what that underlying tension is. My second tip for creating a war arc is consider what sparked the war. So now we've talked about that there needs to be an underlying tension, but what actually sparked the war? It could just be something like a simple argument, and suddenly that just blew everything out of proportion because of all of the little arguments leading up to this main point. So it could just be a disagreement. The other faction could have taken something important to them. Maybe there were disagreements between the people. So there's many reasons how the war could have sparked, but that spark is something that should be developed from the underlying tension that had been there building up for the past years. My third tip for creating a war arc is consider what each group wants. To make it more realistic, each group in your war should have something that they should want. Everyone wants something, and this want should be reflected in how each faction acts in this battle. So maybe both groups simply want to be powerful. Maybe they want money or fame. Or maybe it is a much more deeper reason than that. Maybe they realize that they need to defeat the other group in order to protect the peace of their kingdom. Maybe they need to save someone who was taken from their faction. For both the good and the bad factions, they all need to have a reason as to why they should fight. My fourth tip for writing a war arc is make things difficult. Add problems anywhere possible. So this keeps things exciting and fast-paced. If everything just worked out really well, it wouldn't be as exciting to readers. So think about the worst that could happen and then add it. So this war may result in characters' deaths, fatal injuries, or destruction to important locations. There could also be smaller problems like entrances suddenly being blocked, friends betraying them, or traps or ambushes. My fifth tip is involve your protagonist and your other main characters. So this war arc is actually a part of the world building. All of these arcs are a part of world building. So when there is a war, it should not only affect your characters, but it should also affect the rest of the world as well. You need to involve your characters, but also remember that this war doesn't entirely revolve around your characters. So your protagonist may be on the front lines, but in the scheme of the battle, they are just as important as any other character. Still, they should be there to defeat enemies or to help plan and strategize. Maybe this war was partly caused by them, or maybe they have friends that they need to protect through this battle too. That is how you create a war arc. It's not just something that is focused around the main characters, but it's something that should tie into the world of your story and not just influence your main characters, but every single character that exists in your universe. And my sixth and final tip for creating a war arc in your manga, comic, or light novel is consider how this war will affect the story. After this war, your story would likely be very changed. People may have died or locations may have been destroyed. There could be rifts between characters that cannot be repaired. During the war, there may be shortages of food or water, or people may struggle to find safe places to stay. There are many things that can be caused by a war in your story. So to make your story more meaningful, consider not only the war, but what happens during it and the after effect of it as well. So thank you so much for watching my video today, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know about the battle arcs, the war arcs, or the tournaments you're creating in your own manga, comic, or light novel because I would love to hear about it. Feel free to chat with me on any of my social media at @MidnightXCross because I always enjoy hearing from you. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.